Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast, your sanctuary with retreat experts, where we spill the tea on retreat success. Here we dive into crafting transformational guest experiences, talk about how to avoid pitfalls, and unlock marketing secrets. Whether you're a seasoned guru or a budding enthusiast, we've got the inside scoop for you. Join us as we learn how to flourish in this magical world of retreats. Welcome to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. I'm Shannon, and I am overjoyed to have this guest on the show today. One, because she's speaking to one of the things that I love to do. Believe it or not, I do love podcasting. So she's going to be talking about podcasting, but also how to leverage podcasting for marketing your retreats, which I don't think many people realize that it's such a powerful tool. So welcome, Julie, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Shannon. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. We chit-chatted just a moment before we started recording, and I really told you, how I think this can be such a powerful modality. But before we dig into the nutty grits and all that good stuff about it, how about you first just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
For sure. So I'm Julie Fry, and I am the founder of Your Expert Guest. We're a podcast guest visibility agency for women business owners, thought leaders, and authors. I love what I do. I feel so fortunate, and I am a huge fan of retreats, having gone on several myself.
Yay. Okay, good. I love this because I have definitely had some guests on the show, which it's not like you can't add value if you've not been on a retreat, but it just takes it to a whole nother level if you know exactly, who this audience is that you're going to be speaking to, at least as far as what they're hoping to accomplish, right, as a guest of a retreat, and then how you can help them get more of you to their retreats. And so I love that so much. So let's first just talk about, why is podcasting even a valuable tool?
Yeah. So hopefully, if your audience is listening to this right now, they already know how powerful podcasts are because you feel an incredible connection to the host. There's that piece of discovering a new podcast. I know that I am an auditory learner. And so if I am looking to learn something new, whether it's personally or for business, the first place I go is a podcast. I'll go to my podcast app and I'll enter in my search tool. So because leading a retreat is such a specific skill, and while you might be an amazing health and wellness coach, filling and leading a retreat is a totally different skill set. So podcasts are a great way to start to learn about that. And then once you fall in love with the host and the topics that they're covering, you come back week after week or every other week or however often it is that the host releases new episodes. So I've just been seeing a lot of posts on social media this week about how podcasters are the new influencers. With our election coming up, there is a lot of podcast appearances happening on both sides of the coin. And the candidates showing up on podcasts that you wouldn't necessarily expect. And it's all about trying to reach their target demographic that they feel that they could have the most sway with. So those are just a few examples of how powerful podcasts can be at reaching your target audience, as well as developing a connection with the host. So by being a guest on those podcasts, you're leveraging that know, like, trust that the host has with their audience. So you automatically come in as kind of a warm person that the audience is really eager to hear from.
Hey, retreat leaders. Are your retreats the hidden gems of the travel world just waiting to be discovered? Well, it's time to shine a spotlight on them. Introducing the ultimate guide you've been waiting for. Our free guide, Top 11 Tips for Building an Email List for you, the retreat leaders. Imagine an email list packed with eager attendees, hanging on to your every word and ready to book at the click of a button. We share the blueprint to creating a list that sells. Don't miss out on the action. Learn how to connect deeply with your audience, boost your bookings, and create a buzz that fills every retreat. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, these 11 tips are your secret weapon to success. Visit retreatleaderlistbuilding.com now to grab your free copy and start building an email list that sells out your retreats. Yes. Okay. I love all of this. You nailed something that I thought was really important. And then I'd love for you to share either expand on this and then share other tips too. But one of the things you said is when you are a guest on a podcast,
ensuring that the audience that's listening to this podcast is who you want to reach, right? So, for instance, I'll make this up. I seem to keep going to this level, but let's say you're going to host a retreat for midlife women. Well, you're not really going to go to a whatever the generation, the younger generation, is 2 or 3 generations younger, that's the audience of that podcast. That's not really who you're going to go try to be a guest with, right? Or you're not also going to go to a podcast where predominantly males are the audience if you're trying to reach midlife women. And so I just feel like that's something that people don't think about when they are pitching, I think, is they're just trying to pitch it to everybody and not realizing that they're wasting a whole lot of time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. So one of the strategies that we take with our clients, whether they're doing it themselves or whether we're doing it for them, is getting as super targeted as possible. And so understanding, who is it that you're doing the retreat for? Is it midlife women? Okay. Are those midlife women stay-at-home moms? Are they empty nesters? Like all of their kids have just gone to college. Do they work in corporate? So we try to get as super clear because, as you know, there are podcasts for literally everything under the sun. So you can find a podcast that is really geared towards corporate women that maybe their kids are all out of the house, and you can really stand out as somebody talking about some of the issues that they're struggling with, like finding their identity, finding new hobbies, rediscovering their hobbies, all of those things. So yeah, getting super, super clear. You need to know who you're for. You can't be for everybody. I know there's a better way to say that, but
oh my gosh, no. It's one of my favorite things that I say is if you're marketing to everybody, you're marketing to nobody.
Yes,
and so
that's the thing.
Yeah, I absolutely love how you're like niche it down even further. Like, so you're talking to midlife women, but like, how can we get even further into that? Right. And so that so speaks my language, because just like you can find a podcast for everything, you can practically find a retreat for everything. And so you need to narrow down who your audience is. Who is it exactly that you want to attend your retreat? Who do you want to work with? And then go find podcasts that speak directly to those people. So I love this so much. Give me some other ideas of what they should be looking for, or what they should do, or just some tips on being a good host or a good guest, I guess I should say.
Good guest on podcasts, for sure. So after you've gotten really clear on, who you're trying to reach, when you're sending your pitches. So I know this is kind of the bane of a lot of podcasters' existence, is getting these horrible pitches, right? So a few things to keep in mind. One is, yes, you are expert enough. I see a lot of people who struggle with feeling like, oh, I'm not a big enough deal to go on a podcast. I don't have a book. I'm newer in business. And my advice is, if you have a business and people are buying things from you, if you have a client, then you're expert enough to go onto a podcast, because you're already helping somebody. This enables you to go out and help more people. So secondly is, again, if you're struggling with that idea of pitching yourself, is that if the host takes guests, then you're actually helping them do their job by offering up a great topic that you can speak about, giving them just a few bullet points that the listeners will learn during that discussion. You're helping them because now they don't have to go out and find a guest to speak on their show that week. When you are sending the pitch, make sure that you just do a couple of things first. So make sure the show is still active. You can quickly look at it on your podcast app, look at previous episodes, and you'll be able to tell, like, oh, okay, they released something in October. We're good. Make sure that they do take guests, because there's nothing that annoys a host more if they don't take guests than you're pitching them for their show. We always suggest going to the website, learn a little bit about the host. What kind of business do they have? Who are their clients? What are their offerings? Like, maybe there's a possibility for you to develop an affiliate relationship. So just look for ways that you could be of benefit to the host as well. Because if they say yes and invite you on the show, they are introducing you to this whole new audience that you would have never gotten in front of anyway. So really approaching it from that standpoint of relationship building rather than being transactional about the whole process. It will just enable you and that host to have a great relationship as time goes on. And then the last piece of that is, if you do get a yes from the host, just remember that that's like the most valuable piece of the whole experience, because that host could go on to refer you to other people that might want to join your retreat. You too can have just a relationship that goes on and on and on. I experienced that myself. That's kind of why I started this business, is I saw how much being a guest on podcasts can really impact your business. And so, and that all came from one podcast interview in 2014. So just remember, the relationship with the host is huge.
I love all of this. I really love the fact of spending time researching who the host is, what they're doing, and then, of course, listening to, a minimum of one of their shows, if not more, just because, you said about people getting horrible pitches. I get them every single day for this podcast. I get pitches, and I'm telling you, 99.9% of them, I can immediately tell they've never listened to the show, and I delete it just immediately.
Yeah.
I don't even finish reading the rest of the pitch because I can tell because they don't know who my audience is, for one, and they're pitching something that my audience would have no desire for. What's interesting is a lot of the pitches, the people probably do have value to add to my audience, but because they didn't take the time to research it and position a topic that would fit my audience, they get deleted immediately. And so I can't stress how important that is. And what value, you're going to bring to that host, right? To that show is so important.
Hey, it's Shannon here. I'm just popping in really quickly to ask a big favor. Would you pause the show and go review it for us? Please. Reviews really help us to be able to get more guests and more experts on the show to help you transform your retreats. So if you wouldn't mind pausing and leaving us a review, that would mean everything. And if you're not already subscribed, do that too.
What are your thoughts on when someone does do a pitch, and let's say they've got all of those things down great, they've researched, they've done all the good stuff, and then what is your thoughts on them offering something extra for that host or that show or that audience? Do you think that's a deal maker, a deal breaker? What are your thoughts on that?
When you say that, do you mean sort of like a free resource? Like,
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, something that's even tailored specifically for. So an example would be, here's a downloadable whatever, and it's, you can get it for free by entering code, Retreat Leaders Playbook. Like you can tell it's specifically for that podcast.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I will say that we've noticed that opt-ins for the free gifts or the free resources are going down. And I think it's just because email marketing has been around for 15 years now. And so people are getting fatigued and they have to really, really, really want whatever the thing is to give away their email address. So we always suggest, in addition to having some kind of free resource, inviting people to book a call, because over the course of the conversation, people are getting to know you and you're either making them lean in more and they're getting more curious about you and more curious about your retreat, or they're like, no, she's not for me. And that's fine because you can't be for everyone. So we always suggest having an invitation to book a call with you, because if you're catching somebody when they're in that moment of like, wow, this retreat sounds really amazing, or whatever it is that this person is doing sounds really interesting, you're catching them in that moment where they're going to take action. So we do recommend that. We recommend the free resource, and we recommend your social media channels, obviously, in your website too. But knowing the one goal that you have for why you're guesting on podcasts is really important, and it will inform how you frame up those kind of next steps that a listener can take with you.
Awesome. Okay. And then I'd like for you to share two things, but the first one is, if somebody wants to say do this on their own, what are some tips that you can offer them? And then the second thing is, if somebody wants to work with an expert and get it done right and faster, probably what they can do with you. So
if you want to do it on your own, which anybody listening, you can do it. It is not rocket science. It just takes time. So some tips are getting clear on your why and, what are you hoping to accomplish with your guesting? Number two, when you're doing your research, know that that's the most time-consuming piece. So we have a way to help people get a customized list of shows that they can pitch. So it saves that big time-sucking piece. But you're going to spend some time Googling keywords. You're going to be looking at competitors. You're going to be thinking about what are the industries that your top clients are in. So those are kind of three ways that we always suggest when you're looking at good fit podcasts. Like, look at those three, and then don't forget your network, because they want to help you. And if you reach out to them, say, hey, I'm going to start guesting on some podcasts. Who do you know that has a podcast for midlife women, or whatever the category is? And then when you're pitching, kind of, we talked about this before, but just remembering that it's about the host and their audience. It's not about you. So kind of lead with what they're going to get out of it and how are you going to promote the episode when it goes live. Absolutely, you need to share who you are, link to your website, link to your social channels so they can check you out. But it's actually more important to let them know like how you're going to help them than it is about you. Feels counterintuitive, but that's kind of the reality that we found in talking to hosts. So those are things, if you are doing it yourself, to think about. That is a obviously more budget-friendly way as well. If you hire an expert, it's going to cost you more, but you are generally getting guaranteed results. So things that we recommend when you're vetting a person or an agency to do this for you is ask to see some of their sample pitches. The number one, I would say, kind of surprise that people who hire agencies is that some agencies don't customize pitches to podcasters. And so they just kind of get a general template and then they blast it out and kind of make it a numbers game. So that's not how you want your brand represented. So just ask to see a sample pitch and that will tell you kind of their approach. Then you can also look at their website, see what other types of clients are they working with. We do always recommend, just like anything, you want to hire a bookkeeper who understands your business. You want to hire vendors in your business that kind of understand what you do. And so looking at individuals or agencies that work with clients like you. You know, I had a gentleman who does like metals investing reach out to talk about hiring us. I'm like, we're not for you, but here's a few agencies that you might look at. So those are just a few things to think about.
I love all of this. And I really love that you just said you even tell people when you're not a fit. This is something that I think people, for instance, we're talking about, narrowing down our niche when it comes to marketing. Well, it also applies to taking someone's money. We're just going to simplify it to that, right? So business, if it's not a right fit, you will actually gain more trust by saying, you know what, I don't think I'm a right fit for you, but here is some other options for you. Well, guess what now? When that person meets someone who is a right fit for us, they're going to say, you know what, you need to go talk to Julie because my business didn't fit her model, but I really appreciated her and she really pointed me in the right direction. So you need to go talk to Julie. That literally happens.
It does. One of our company values is heck yeah or heck no. And so it really applies to everything from client fit to podcasts for our clients. So it's nice to have that as a guiding principle. And we've experienced that where somebody hasn't been a fit, but then, a year later, they referred somebody to our company.
Yeah, same for me. I mean, I've had people where it's like, I don't think that my retreats are good for you. I want you to be happy. And I'm afraid you'd waste your money and your time and it just wouldn't fit what you're looking for. But then they've sent other people my way who they thought it would be a fit. So I'm a big, big believer in that. And let's be honest, let's say, Julie, you said, I'm going to go ahead and work with this person, whether it was money driven or it doesn't matter, but you just decided to work with someone who's usually not in alignment with you. That tends to be a tough relationship. It tends to be more draining energetically. It tends to be just a reach for you every time because it's just outside of your normal parameters that you want to work with. And so it never ends up being good for either party.
100%. And I will say that we learned that early on by taking on a client that was not a good fit. He was kind of a bro marketer. And that shortly after that, that's when we pivoted to working with women only. And, just trusting your gut and realizing that when somebody's not a good fit, that it's best to just follow that.
Agreed. Totally.
Hey guys, I'm popping in to ask a quick question. Are you ready to elevate your marketing game and fill those retreat slots faster than ever? Of course you are. That's why you're here. And we've got the toolkit for you. Our top 5 marketing tools for retreat leaders guide. This isn't just a guide. It's your marketing guru wrapped up in one easy to follow package. Dive into the essentials of social media marketing, where we show you how to leverage those platforms to create a community buzzing with excitement for your retreats. Also, unleash the power of content marketing with strategies that educate and engage your potential guests. Plus, we'll dive into email marketing, SEO, and partnership opportunities that open new doors and bring in streams of attendees. So why wait to make your retreats the talk of the town? Download your free guide today by visiting retreatmarketingtools.com and start transforming your retreat dreams into reality.
Okay, Julie, well, if someone wants to work with you, what do you think is the first step and what should they do? How can they start that relationship?
Yeah. So our company is your expert guest. So I would definitely check out our website, look at some of our case studies and testimonials. And the first step is always having a conversation just to determine fit, if it's right for you and if it's right for us. And so we have a 20-minute complimentary consultation. We can learn about your goals with podcast guesting and visibility and let you know how we can help. And if not, I always have great suggestions for sending you to other people or ideas that could help you.
I love this. Oh, I'm so excited. And for retreat hosts out there, if you didn't catch what she said at the very beginning, podcasting definitely is probably becoming one of the most influential ways for people to learn new things or hear about something that they will be then excited to participate in. And so I couldn't agree more that podcasting is one of the most powerful platforms out there. And it's definitely underutilized when it comes to retreats. So thank you so much, Julie, for being a guest. And hopefully some folks will reach out to talk to you about being a guest on other people's shows.
Thank you so much, Shannon. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for listening to the Retreat Leaders Podcast. Learn more at www.theretreatranch.com. See you next time.